You know, if you've got a dog with skin allergies, you know the heartbreak, right? The constant scratching, the hot spots, the endless vet visits. It's this painful, expensive, and just seemingly never-ending cycle. But what if the reason it never gets better is because we've been looking in the completely wrong place?
Okay, so let's just dive right in with the question that I bet you've asked yourself 1,000 times. You've done the special foods, you've tried the medicated shampoos, you've gotten the prescriptions, and yet that itch always comes back. Why? What are we missing here?
Well, to get to the answer, we first have to understand the problem for what it really is. It's like we're fighting this endless war, but we're fighting it on the wrong battlefield. We're so busy treating the smoke, we're completely ignoring the fire. Does this whole routine sound painfully familiar? It's like being on this hamster wheel of treatments, isn't it? You go from one thing to the next, and you see a little bit of improvement, right? A moment of peace, maybe for a week, maybe two, but then, slowly at first, and then all at once, the scratching starts up again, and you're right back at square one, feeling totally defeated.
But what if I told you that all of those treatments, the creams, the steroids, the shampoos, what if I told you they're all pretty much destined to fail? Not because they're bad products, but because they're aimed at the wrong target. What if the real battle isn't on the skin at all? This right here is the fundamental shift in understanding that changes absolutely everything. That chronic, unrelenting itch you see on the outside, it's actually a distress signal coming from the inside. The real problem isn't your dog's skin, it's their gut.
And the scientific name for this root cause is leaky gut syndrome. Okay, think of your dog's intestinal lining like a high-security wall with really tight gateways. Now, in a healthy gut, only fully digested nutrients are supposed to get through. But when that wall gets damaged, those gateways break wide open, allowing all sorts of toxins and undigested food particles to leak directly into the bloodstream. This is what triggers the massive whole-body inflammation that ends up erupting on their skin.
Now, I know that's a huge claim, so you might be wondering, how strong is this connection really? Is a leaky gut just some minor factor, or could it actually be the main driver behind most of these chronic skin problems we see?
And the answer is, honestly, it's staggering. According to clinical data, the main root cause for a full 80% of all chronic allergy cases isn't the environment or genetics, it's gut dysfunction. We are not talking about a small fraction here. We're talking about the vast majority of suffering dogs.
So let's unpack these numbers because they are so important. The first line talks about gut dysbiosis. That's just a fancy way of saying the gut is all out of whack, the bad bacteria are taking over. But look at that second line. 70 to 80% of your dog's entire immune system is located right there in the gut lining. It's literally mission control for their body's defenses. So it makes sense, right? When the gut is compromised, the immune system goes haywire, and that's exactly why healing it leads to such a dramatic, noticeable improvement in their skin.
So how in the world does a problem that's happening deep inside the intestines create that raging, red, itchy rash on your dog's paws or their belly? Let's trace the actual path of destruction.
And this just illustrates that chain reaction perfectly. It's like a four-step process. First, the gut wall is breached. Second, all these toxins invade the bloodstream where they absolutely do not belong. Third, the immune system sees these invaders, sounds the alarm, and launches a massive body-wide inflammatory attack, a storm. And finally, where does that inflammation storm show up? It travels through the blood and it erupts on the skin, breaking down the skin's own defenses from the inside out. That's what makes it so red, raw, and incredibly itchy. So this all leads to the next logical question, right? What is causing all this damage to the gut barrier in the first place? Well, it turns out some of the most common habits in modern dog care are actually the biggest culprits.
Let's just break these down really quick. High-carb kibbles and those sugary treats, they feed the bad bacteria that just chew away at the gut lining. And here's the crazy irony. The very antibiotics and steroids often prescribed for skin issues can wipe out the good bacteria that are supposed to protect the gut. Chronic stress from things like separation anxiety physically weakens the gut wall. Even something as simple as dehydration can dry out the protective mucus layer. And finally, piling on too many supplements, especially ones with artificial fillers, can just irritate the gut lining, triggering that whole immune reaction all over again.
Okay, so now that we understand that the true battlefield is the gut, and we know who the enemy is, we can finally talk about how to win this war. It's all about shifting our focus from the symptoms to the source. I absolutely love this metaphor because it just makes everything click into place so clearly. For years, we've been frantically spraying water on the sick, itchy leaves, which is the skin. But the real solution has always been down in the soil, healing the roots, healing the gut.
And this comparison just lays it out so perfectly, doesn't it? On one side, you've got symptom management. That's us spraying the sick leaves, suppressing the immune system, and only getting that temporary relief. On the other side, you have true healing. That's watering the roots, rebuilding the gut barrier, and creating a real long-term solution from the ground up.
So the path forward means changing those damaging habits, for sure. But for a lot of dogs, especially if this has been going on for years, that alone isn't enough. The damage to the gut's fortress wall is just too severe, and it needs to be actively rebuilt. This is where targeted nutritional therapies and professional support come in, using very specific compounds to help heal that intestinal lining and restore its function as a strong protective barrier.
So the question I want to leave you with is this. After all the time, all the money, and all the heartache spent chasing these temporary fixes, maybe it's time to change the strategy. Is it time to stop fighting the symptoms on the surface and finally start healing the true source of the problem from the inside out?